Let's talk some ball here. All right, so we got a nub tight end to the boundary with his opposite tight end hit. So for the viewers, timeout.
Hold on 1 second. My fault.
Good.
I made this mistake last time.
Oh, not screen recording. Nice.
And I had to go back through. I felt like fucking
Oh, you had to do that all over again.
That's
over.
crazy.
It's good. All right. My fault.
What's up, guys? I'm Chris Reynolds, Charlotte 49er all-time leading passer and professional quarterback. I'm calling all quarterbacks to take their game to the next level, not only physically, but mentally. With 50 career starts and thousands of snaps under my belt, I've experienced many of the do's and don'ts of this game. Join me for a one-on-one quarterback session to improve your biomechanics that allows us to throw with more velocity, accuracy, and efficiency. Have a better understanding of defensive scheme and strategy, and create more efficient footwork. Or join me on Sundays at New Age Athlete from 10 to 11 for a Sunday group recovery and polish to recharge the batteries for a new week. When it comes to film study, I offer in-season, one-on-one, Zoom, or in-person sessions to have a better understanding of how opponents try to attack us and to evaluate your play so we can improve for the following week. All options are on my Calendly link, calendly.com/Chris Reynolds QB, or you can find more information on my Instagram page at Chris Reynolds QB Training. I have a deep passion for this game, and I'm excited to take everything that I learned to take the younger QBs to another level. As always, roll Niners.
Hey.
Welcome back to the Highway 49 podcast. We are back with episode 85 of the show, featuring the man himself, our football analyst, Chris Reynolds.
Yes, sir. Here we are. Run it back.
No doubt. My guy, Jeremy Grandison here. We are missing Hannah Brady.
Got the camera. Yeah. What's up?
Yeah, she's out sick for the week. Illness. She'll be back soon. But as always, we're going to get things rolling. Charlotte's on a bye week, or I guess is coming off of a bye week, preparing for a ranked matchup, headed to Annapolis, take on number 25 Navy. Before we dive into that, let's hit the best thing we've seen this week. Chris, why don't you get us started?
Best thing we've seen this week. So obviously a lot of people know that I've started a quarterback training business, quarterback development. I don't like the word training. I like develop. It sounds better from a sense of like, hey, I want to take an 8-year-old. I can develop him into a stud when he's older. I can take a college guy that he is right now. I want to keep developing to be an all-conference guy. But we got a logo now. We sold our first order, like a little test trial. I sent out some merch, and we had over 60 items sold. So for y'all out there, if you want to see our QB development hat or shirt, holler at me with our partners at One Campus. All right, they did all the shirts. So, but 60 items sold. I didn't expect that. So great going.
It's major, man. Congrats.
Thank you, man. Appreciate it.
Oh, for me, it's got to be Saturday, man. That day of college football was nuts. Started out with what? Alabama, South Carolina. South Carolina almost pulls off the upset there. And then Ole Miss versus LSU, another great finish. Kansas.
Who won that game?
LSU. It was in overtime.
LSU money line.
LSU money line.
Cash it.
Oh, man. Kansas State and Colorado, also a great finish, 31-28, Kansas State. And there's one more that I'm forgetting. Well, no, there's more. Penn State comes back from down 20-3 against USC to win in overtime.
Yeah. Oregon,
yeah, that's the one. How did I forget that one? Oregon versus Ohio State, 2-3. Yeah. Dan Lanning gets a huge win in Oregon. The NCAA is looking over something. They intentionally put 12 men on the field to stop the clock, even though they took the 5-yard penalty or whatever. So they're looking into that. But great day of college football. One of the best I've seen in a long time. Hunter, how about you?
Yeah, man. I would like to say I watched all those games, but I did not. My best thing Saturday, girlfriend and I took my grandma to a vineyard. Had a good little time.
Nice.
Got a little wine in us.
Love that, man.
Good times, but
good stuff.
Definitely, man. It was nice to have a little bye week.
Little detox.
Yeah, well.
Yeah.
Not really. He was drinking.
But, yeah, Charlotte's actually got a couple Saturdays off this year. They got the Tulane home game on Thursday night, and then they got a bye week following that. So two open weeks and a free Saturday. Yep. So that's major. But let's get into a little bit. Chris, last time we saw you, it's a lot of fun watching Charlotte kind of run up the score a little bit on ECU at home. For you, being back at that game, what was it like? Just curious, your thoughts on the environment. That's one of the biggest crowds we've ever seen.
The thing that kept popping in my head when I was sitting there watching the game and when we were mollywopping them boys, man. Oh my gosh, put them in a blender.
Talk that shit.
Yeah, you like that, Holton? That's my dog. Was growth.
Yeah.
I felt growth. Because, when I think about my playing days and when I got there, right, we're talking the old Charlotte 49ers logo. We had chocolate milk and Nutri-Grain bars in our nutrition room. CUSA, we're trying to find our way in. Our first season there, we're 1-11. People aren't really packing it out. I think about the Hurricane game versus Old Dominion on a Thursday night when there's you probably could have counted 50 guys.
I was there, man.
Yeah, right. Yeah. Yes, sir. My dog. But now then you go into the next foundational period. I won't even say we're kind of off the foundation at this point. We're trying to build a little bit more. The 2019 to 2020, like the next era, right? Bahamas Bowl, right? First Power 5 win. You feel that kind of era, that 19 to 21 era. 2022 obviously didn't go as what we wanted, and then new staff comes in and you feel that ECU, all right, this is turning into a rivalry, pack out the stadium, put them in a blender, right? Okay, now we're making our stand, right? We're continuing to grow. And seeing the fan base, continue to show up and being persistent, right? All I can think of is growth, right? Some days, this is a weird metaphor, right? But you go to the gym, right? So you have these peaks and valleys in the gym, muscle growth. But the consistent man, the disciplined man is the one that's going to see the most results. And that's with anything. And to see that fan base show up and be the disciplined, consistent, that allows growth and going forward to push forward, that's what I kept noticing. And it's starting to pay off.
Yeah, man. 17,000 attendance, third straight sellout, standing room only.
Come on now. I mean, you're not going to find a fan base that's going to keep showing up like that.
And it's funny, I'd say Osborne and Poggi pretty much took shots at Rice's crowd. They said, we went there. Y'all saw how it was. And I mean, you could see it on the broadcast when you could actually see the field.
Yeah.
There were not a lot of folks there, and that's the type of environment that Charlotte has when they play at home. And,
Yeah, man.
I mean, the next home game is a huge spot. That's Tulane, Halloween night, ESPN. So I assume probably another sellout for a team that will ideally be kind of fighting for that bowl opportunity.
Yeah, we always talk about that lucky number, huh? And this is a huge spot to go into and try to grab win number 4. Like you said, everything around the game, not the game itself. Like you said, Halloween, right? Kind of a night game. All these kind of things that are.
We're home versus Tulane. Just want to double check.
Yeah, a few weeks from now.
On Halloween on a Thursday.
Yeah.
That's badass.
On
I don't know why I
ESPN.
didn't know that, but that's badass.
On ESPN. Yeah.
Absolutely insane. These are the moments, like you talked about, growth, right? Where you see where the program started and now you see where it is. And you go have ECU, who is talking loads of shit. I'm sorry just loads of shit. And I was like, is this a kid-friendly thing? Loads of talk. And then you come in and just thrash them after all the things that we talked about. Mike Houston declining the Charlotte job, right? And Mike Hill comes on the pod last week. Go listen to that if you haven't. And he's talking his shit. Like,
Made them tap, man.
Get your licks off, Mike. I mean, it's really cool just to see where this program has gone. I've only been here. This is my third year covering the team. And from when I came in the Will Healy era to now, seeing that big win against ECU and what the future can hold, man, I just know that place is going to be jumping on Saturday or Thursday come Halloween.
No doubt. And so here's the deal, right? So this Saturday, they're going to Navy. This is kind of the start of like a 3 or 4 game gauntlet, depending on what you think of South Florida, because you go 12-day span at Navy, at Memphis, and then that next game is home Tulane Thursday night. So 3 of the top dogs in the league back to back to back. If Charlotte's going to get to a bowl game, in my mind,
how many you need?
You got to get one in this.
Got to get one of the 3.
Because then you're going South Florida at home, and their quarterback is back. He's a local boy coming from Raleigh.
Mm-hmm.
And then you go to FAU, which nothing good ever happens there.
That's the one team in CUSA that I never beat. FAU.
Yeah,
it's fucking bullshit. Sorry.
And then you got
my bad. Beep beep.
This thing's off the rails already. I started it.
Hey man. And then you got home for UAB, and they've been kind of a rough shit show. Trent Dilfer, that's been an interesting situation there. They just got Tulane put 70 on them. Maybe it was last week, 2 weeks ago. So when you look at this 3-game stretch, Navy, Memphis, Tulane, you got to get one.
Yeah, I mean, it's got to happen, and they got to come in with the mindset, like, as boring as I always sound in those damn interviews when I said 1 game at a time, 1 play at a time, they literally have to take it 1 game at a time. Every bit of mental focus, especially since against a triple option Navy team.
Yeah.
Disciplined football, because when you play an execution team like Navy, you got to match that from offensively with an execution offense, right? You got to do your job defensively, stay in your gap, right? The whole triple option deal. You have to prep a whole week. Here's the advantage with triple option when you run it, is that you have to cause another team, to prep for you, right, for triple option one game out of the year.
Yeah. And this is completely different than anything else they're going to see all season.
No doubt. So you got to match execution with execution. And I think Oz is going to do a good job of that.
So leading up practice week, how accurate can Oz get that triple option to be for that defense? Because no matter how many times they practice it, when Sunday or Saturday comes, it's going to be back to square one.
Obviously I haven't spent a lot of time on the defensive ball. I've watched a lot of tape though. But when it comes to, defending the triple, a lot of teams they just like to add an extra guy in the box, right? Things like that. I think Oz has a different type of expertise. Been all around. He's been in the league. He's been all across college ball. And with his energy, his type of energy that's authentic will be displayed and put down to his players, right? To match the energy with discipline. Because it's when you're defending triple, it's all about the want to. Because they're going to keep trying to pound it and pound it and pound it. Can you keep showing up drive after drive? And I think Oz is a good fit for that.
Yeah, we heard last time we saw the running backs, Cartavius and Hassan, they said, hey, we could see it in their eyes with ECU. They lost it. The triple option is one of those things that makes the defense do the same thing.
Well, the game last year, 14-0, more punts than points. That was a brutal game for a viewer, especially people that had gone to their first ever football game, unless you just love defense, which Charlotte played pretty good defense, I would say 95% of that game. They limited the option. It was 2 60-plus yard runs that Navy had that basically broke that game open, and Charlotte had a goose egg on the scoreboard on offense. This week, the storyline's a little bit different because 6 games of the season, we've seen 3 separate quarterbacks, and now you're getting your guy back. Max Brown is supposedly back off of injury. He was at practice today working with the ones. I think this is a super interesting scenario, and we're going to break down some of the film here in just a little bit. But, Chris, I want to open this up to you because Jeremy and I have talked about this at length. You've seen the low for DeShawn Purdie, Gardner-Webb, first 3 quarters of that game. And then you see the past 6 quarters he's played, the second half at Rice, all game against ECU. He doesn't look like a true freshman right now. He's playing like a starter that could get you to that 6-win total. Yeah. So when it comes to your starter who you invested NIL in, Max Brown, how can you take away that job from DeShawn Purdie, knowing that I guess this is a more mature upperclassman leader that's coming back from injury? No doubt, it's tough, right? Let's not sugarcoat it. This is hard, right? But it's also a good problem to have. You got 2 capable quarterbacks, right, that have been battling going ahead. Really, three of them, obviously, yeah. Trexler, go in there, he's going to run that dang offense. He's going to make plays for you. Purdy's got that big arm talent, right? I loved the way in the ECU game that he was doing his job. As boring as that sounds, he was doing his job, doing what the play tells him to do. Whatever the defense shows, he was responding to the defense. He wasn't reacting. I like to say respond. So if they're bringing corner pressure from the field, he's replacing corner pressure, right? There wasn't too big of a moment, which was really cool to watch from the young 18-year-old, right? And obviously Max, who's we haven't seen enough of, right? We've seen spurts where you saw the first couple games, right? And you kind of have the itch, I want to keep seeing more of this kid. We invest in him, right? He was your quarterback, he was your leader, he was your captain. So it's one of those positions where so what do we do? Yeah. From a bird eyes view, I don't know the exact details of the situation, how healthy he is and things like that. It's one of those things where it's if Purdy's playing well, right, and he's not all the way healthy, maybe you don't rush him. Yeah. Right? That's an option. Or you say, okay, Max is back. We committed to him. Let's run with Max. I'm interested to see what we do, but it's also going to be a situation after the end of the season. You're going to revisit this conversation and be sure. In the world of NIL and transfer portal, right? Who are you going to invest in? Because you can't have both realistically nowadays. Yeah. But you don't want to jump to conclusions and be there right now and think about that right now. You kind of want to let this thing play out, and because right now you're hot in a way. You come off of a big win. Can you not take that rat poison going into the bye week and respond and keep going? Don't whenever you win, man, you're not supposed to sit back and be nice, dap each other up, cool, enjoy it for 12 hours. But it's all right, now we got to go even freaking harder. Yeah. We have to, right? Or we're going to get our mouth punched in against a Navy team. First, was that a Charles Huff rat poison quote? I might have been a Saban, all right? Saban, all right. So he came off the tree. Yeah. I agree with you, man. We talked some of the NIL, and that's a whole nother conversation for the end of the season, exactly what you said. But this really does kind of set that up. Whoever you go with here is probably likely your quarterback for the future. Yeah. And obviously you don't want to speculate on how that all how it all unfolds, but it is an interesting kind of dialogue going into this game.
And it's cool to see that quarterback room has healthy relationships where it's like, hey, man, let's go win.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
Yeah.
That's the most important thing. I've seen other programs, right, that they have kind of guys go head-to-head. And, like, obviously everybody's got to compete, man. But we're a business. We're professional here. Like, if you go in there, I want everybody to do well, right? Because it helps everybody else. Their stock goes up too, you know?
Last podcast, I advocated for Max because I was like, that's the dude. He's basically in his prime. If you think of like a college career, it's not a true freshman. He's a redshirt too, right? So he's really a junior, right? So he's been in college this is his third year. But the more I think about it, right, like the NIL landscape of today's game, everything's 1 year. You can't. This isn't the NBA where it's like, oh, we're gonna choose Kawhi Leonard over Paul George. That's not a good example because they're both injured all the time. We're gonna choose Paolo Banchero over Franz Wagner because we can get 10 plus years out of Paolo. That's not what it's gonna be. With Max, at the most, you get 2 or 3.
Yeah.
Compared to DeShawn, you can maybe get 3 or 4. So looking back on it from the last podcast, I would say I changed my mind a little bit. I'm kind of leaning towards in the middle now, lukewarm on both sides because it's a 1 year thing with how NIL is. Even if you do all the right things as a program, someone else just might have a better deal or offer than you. And that's what it comes down to. So if that's the case, don't worry about the future. Try to win 6 games now. And whoever quarterback can do that, you got to go with that guy.
Yeah, you talk about revenue. Shout out Mike Hill. How do you get more revenue? Bowl games.
Yeah.
Win to AAC championship.
Win.
Yeah.
With that, I think let's go ahead and get to the film.
Let's watch the tape, huh?
Let's
Break
do
down
it.
a little bit.
Talk ball.
All right.
Are you ready to elevate your school spirit? Look no further than onecampusco.com. Whether you're in the classroom, on the field, or cheering from the stands, we're dedicated to bringing academics, athletics, alumni, and fans together. Founded by our alumni-owned parent company, One Chapter in 2021, we recognize the need for quality apparel at reasonable prices and created a shopping experience that connects fans with their university. Join us in showcasing your pride and giving back to your community. With onecampusco.com, you're not just a student, athlete, or fan, you're part of a vibrant family. Together, let's celebrate what makes our university special. Visit us at www.charlotte.onecampusco.com using promo code HWY49 for 10% off.
All right, episode 3 of Chalk Talk. Here we go. 2 tight ends here. We're going to have Colin into the boundary, attached on the ball, then Bryce off the ball in the hip, all right? So for those viewers, right, we call that 12 personnel. I got to do a better job of slowing down, all right? 12 personnel, 1 back, 2 tight ends, okay? So we called this when I was playing dice left, flip, bring the other receiver over, okay? So we have 2 receivers to the field, right, with obviously your tight end off the ball and your tight end on the ball, all right? So we're gonna play action pass, 7-man protection, okay? So Bryce is gonna stay in to seal the edge, and then Colin's gonna free release outside for a go ball. Mostly we do that, right? Realistically, it's hard to throw a go ball to a tight end when he's attached. So it's really to clear people out, right? We're trying to take that corner out of there, hopefully grab the attention of a safety, okay? So from here, it looks like we have a kind of like a middle of the field. I call it like a grass route, right? If the middle field's open, when I say the middle of the field's open, it means like in a 2 safety look, you have grass in the middle of the field. Now, if they were 1 high safety in the middle of the field, that means middle of the field closed. My guess, if it's middle of the field closed, we're staying in the seam. But since it's open, we can run the grass. Step on toes and run the grass. On the outside, it looks like an in-breaker. I don't know the details of the depth. He kind of rounds it off. Kind of looks like a deeper slant, like a glance. But I think it's more of a dig route based on it because it's play action. So Purdie does a great job here. I like the idea. 2nd and 7 here. Let's max protect it. Let's protect the young quarterback, right? Give him time back there. Does a great job keeping his eyes down the middle of the field, recognizing boundary safety help in throwing. This is a big boy ball, right? Throw to space and a great catch.
In stride.
In stride. Great track of the ball by Omega. Great stuff.
Go back and you mentioned the toe, right?
Yeah,
As the
stepping
wide
on
receiver.
toes. Because here's what's going to happen. If you cut it short, so let's play it. If you cut it short, say you break here.
Yeah.
He's just going to overlap it.
He's time.
Right? You need to threaten this guy's zone. It's everything. You never want a defense player, a safety, or a corner to determine the depth of your route. Right? You never want that to happen because if you threaten him, now you're forcing him to open his hips.
Yep.
Now you got a 2-way go. Right? When you step on toes, he doesn't know if you're running a post, a fade, or a corner. Right? Threaten him, run to space, textbook, great throw. I love the idea of max protecting, give him an opportunity to throw it down the field.
Omega Blake had a day in that
Yeah,
game.
he did.
Man.
I like how, we're mixing up our run protections or pass protection, showing like it's real run, because you're going to see later, right, in other games, we're pulling the guard to kick out the end, right? We're showing the same action with play action pass, actually bringing everybody down, because people key guards, linebackers key guards. Safety see downhill run. We'll see it. We'll talk RPOs here in a little bit too with it.
That's all I was taught playing linebacker in high school. Watch the guards.
Key guards. Great ball. Big time play, man. What's cool too as a true freshman, right? Your first go around doesn't go your way. You're turning the ball over, having your freshman moment. You get pulled into a game second half, right? Do or die situation. In reality, man, this was a huge win based on our slate. To show up in the third quarter, respond. Like when I think of responding versus reacting, responding means, a situation was dealt to you and you respond with a solution, right? He was a solution this game, right? He wasn't reacting based on what happened last time. He was responding and becoming a solution, which was cool to see from the young 18-year-old.
Have a day, man.
Yeah, it's smooth. Wait, calm, cool, collected. All right, this is sweet. All right, so ECU, first drive of the game, right? It's easy to be riled up. Especially as a young dude, it's easy to be riled up. Like, oh gosh, I got to be Superman, right? Big game, energy's up, heart rate's up, right? My deal was whenever I played like South Carolina big games, I always try to control my breathing. I'd box breathe in the beginning, first drive. 4 seconds in, hold for 4 seconds, 4 seconds out, slow my heart rate down. I don't even know if this guy had to do that. So they're showing you man, right? They're showing you man from the corner, eyes inside, right? Boundary corner pressure. And this is hard because they're showing it through a 3-receiver set, man.
Yeah.
It's hard to see. Usually whenever you're a quarterback and you're identifying pressure, you're so keyed on the immediate threats that are right outside the box, right? So, for example, keep doing that. It's hard. So you're usually worried about like these interior guys, like this safety coming. Is that Mike linebacker coming? Is the field Sam coming? And this guy that looks like out of all of them, he's the least amount of a threat, right? So they're running verts here, 4 verticals, bang, down the field, press it down the field. It's awesome to see him respond with replacing pressure with pressure, but in reality, he just threw a whole shot to the number 1 to the field. Well, technically, this is your field into the boundary, so this is your new field. To the outside receiver in a 3-receiver set, he threw a whole shot versus corner pressure. Boys, that ain't easy as an 18-year-old, all right? Yeah. This is third-year type of stuff. You're going to see, too, they get to like kind of like a Tampa 2 look. We called it simulated pressure because they're showing you one thing and they're bringing the other. They're showing you simulation pressure from the field, but they bring it from the boundary. This Mike linebacker takes the middle of the field for immediate throw, which should probably match number 3, and everybody else runs cover 2. And he threw a whole shot. And a whole shot, guys, is when you bait the flat, right, and you throw in the hole between the safety and the corner. And he just did that. I mean, it's super impressive. Throws on time, 1, 2, 3, smooth hitch ball, throw it on time, bang.
3rd and 14.
3rd and 14.
Drive,
That's
big
a
spot.
big
That's
boy
the one
throw.
we talked about. When I saw that pass, I was like, oh man, this might be that day.
Yeah.
This might be that day.
And let's talk pass protection too a little bit, right? Because pass protection is always fun. It's like chess. Come back a little bit, bang. So what the goal is from a defensive team, right? The point of simulated pressure, they're trying to get you to set a protection one way, then screw it up for you, right? So in reality, so you have a 4-down defense, right? What that means is, so usually 3 guys are going to go one way, and then 2 guys are going to be locked. So in this situation, with a 3-man slide to the right, these 2 guys will have these 2 guys. These 3 guys will be having these guys, right? 1, 2, 3 for 1, 2, and 3. And the back's job is to scan. His responsibility here, work outside to outside, right? This is an unbelievable job by the back as well, because we get corner pressure from the field. That's probably one of the last guys you're going to think about. So great job from the back, from scanning, then coming all the way out.
Yep.
Man,
great job.
I never saw that.
Yep, smooth. It's high IQ football. That's why you do your blitz pickup periods in practice. You're going to see a lot of this. This guy throws a lot of good fade balls, right? And I like to say I was really good at fade ball placement, right? Okay, this guy's more of a back shoulder guy. This guy's an over-the-shoulder guy. If this corner stays high, I'm going to throw on his back shoulder. If he stays even, I'll give him a 2 ball up top. If he stays underneath, I'm going to throw over his shoulder. He does a really good job of that as a young freshman, right? He gives his tall receiver an opportunity to make a play here. Throws on time. He knows what he has. He has his matchup one-on-one. Boom, play action, slide, man coverage, ball. He holds the safety down in the middle of the field. Great placement, 2 feet in, great catch and body control. Love that. Get the people going.
Omega Blake, have yourself a day.
Yeah, the kid's a stud, man.
Yeah.
So then you get down to the goal line, right? And we call this duo. So the point of it is, in reality, guys, you have your 4 or 5 defensive linemen, and usually you want 2 offensive linemen or 2 offensive players to double team those linemen, then work up to the linebacker when they threaten.
Yeah.
So we have a good push, and then we can take our running back and run through a soft shoulder of a linebacker, right? So realistically, the extra man will be an exterior guy like a DB or something. So usually, like, it's not really a read. It's like, hey, hand the ball off. Like, make a DB, make the tackle, right? I dare you.
Yeah.
But in reality, too, like, we called it a green grass rule when I played. If you have green grass, take it, right? Let's not overthink it, right? If they give you it, right, take it. And he, takes balls, man. It's 4th and goal. It's 3 minutes in the first. And he says, I'm going to do a green grass rule. Bang, take it.
In this play, so they had 3rd and goal, and I think they ran the same exact play twice in a row, and I think they saw that because there was a timeout in between, and then this was the other side of the timeout. Beautiful. So, all right, if it's there, let it fly.
Take it, man. Yeah, watch it on film, learn from it. And, realistically, in any short yardage play, this is all teams, NFL, college, you run that play.
And I want to hit this point really fast. Charlotte had scored 3 points in the first quarter before that. Shout out you for that stat. They put up 14 in the first quarter of this game. Yeah. I mean, talk about a fast start, talking about giving your running game time to get going. I know this is a quarterback breakdown, but that changed this past Saturday's game.
And that's kudos to Mike, too. Like, because usually, like, with everybody, with all these offensive coordinators, you have an openers list. Like, you have 10 plays, and you usually don't deteriorate. You might change something up based on with the D&D if you get into, like, a 2nd and super long or 3rd and super long. But his openers, that tells me his openers were dialed in.
Yeah.
He was like, he knew how they were going to show up in 1st and 10. He knew what their 3rd down calls were going to be. He had answers, which is cool.
And that's one more thing I want to point out. Charlotte's first 4 runs of the game, when you think about that game, it's 300-plus rushing yards, it's 6 touchdowns. Their first 4 runs, 2 yards, -4, 0, and 2.
Got to stick with it. And
they stuck with it, and then you see a 125-yard fourth quarter later in the game. Crazy.
Have a day, young man. Look at that, man. Come on. Come on, baby.
That place was rocking, man.
God, I love our fans, man. I love Charlotte. Like, man, this place is freaking home. If you're not passionate about this shit, sorry. I don't know what's wrong with, there's something wrong with you. Seeing everybody show up, dialed in, locked in, ready to defend their home base, man, that gets me fired up. All right, a little RPO here. All right, quiz. What's the difference between an RPO and a play action pass?
Well, an RPO, you have the option to run. You can run the ball.
Correct. All right, and let's talk about this. Explain to me. This is good. This is good quiz talk. So we can all go to parties and talk shit to people that don't know football. Sorry, I'm flying, letting it fly today. I'm high energetic. I've coached a lot of football today, and I love football.
He's had a Celsius.
I mean, I love football. All right. So what can the lineman do?
Got 1 yard.
Yeah, bang. They can't go too far down the field, right? Yep. And you can always tell the difference, like, between an RPO and a play action pass. People are like, I don't know if it's, but look at the lineman, what they do. Are they downhill, or are they staying back? All right. So again, like we talked about the day one, the pull for an RPO is like we have a run play with a pass attachment.
Yep.
Okay. So we have to have somebody take away the run for us to throw it. It's not just simple like, hey, I'm just gonna, if I think it's open, I'm gonna throw it. It's like, no, somebody's got to take away the run. So right here, we're running a kick out play, or the right guard is gonna kick out the defensive end here. He's going to come off the line of scrimmage, kick out the end, and these 4 guys, 1, 2, 3, and 4, are going to work back, okay? Work double team back to the backside linebacker. We're going to take care of this guy here, but then the extra guy is this safety. If the safety comes down, that tells me we are outnumbered because we have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 for 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, and then this is the 7th.
Yep.
All right? So Purdy's going to key that guy.
As soon as he comes
Bills.
down. Yep.
Bang, now we have the glance to replace him. I mean,
Perfect.
I threw probably over 100 of these.
Oh, yeah.
You know what I mean? And we used to do it all different types of ways. Like 3-by-1, the first receiver will do it. We do it from the third receiver, the second receiver, different types of ways. The single receiver. We would go unbalanced, 4 receivers to the side, do it from the number 2 receiver. I loved it because it allowed me to use like my baseball background. Boom. Work arm angles around people, manipulate defenders. But it's cool to see these guys operate more glance game, especially with a young guy. It makes it easy. Here's another example of a go ball. Bang, play action. Know you have your one-on-one. So now we saw the first one, right? We saw the first one he threw was a back shoulder.
Yeah.
Really?
We never got a replay, and there's not one in the TV copy. But dude, this is as close as it gets.
It looked like there might have been
and Jeremy
one
and I,
cleat on that white.
we were talking like crazy in the box because they didn't hurry to the line.
Yeah.
There isn't and then the play ultimately gets challenged, and it stands. I wish we still never saw any sort of replay. But
regardless of how it was ruled, that ball had to be in one spot, and he put it there.
That's what I was going to say is because like you saw the first go ball where he threw a back shoulder, right? Because he was even or a little bit in front. Now look him recognizing that we got him beat. Now let's go over top.
Yeah.
You can't be right as a DB. Right?
Jairus, man.
We call that a ball, baby.
That's what I'm saying, and we're gonna get into this more, but like that's what is so hard in my mind. So this is getting straight to Max Brown. Let this run. This is the play that he gets hurt. Watch his hand.
Yeah.
And he seemingly kind of toughs it out right there.
Yeah, he does. He's a stud. He's a competitor. Adrenaline's going.
But
those hand injuries, man. Those hand injuries are tough, man. It's
so you want to get to it now. Is your point going to say, will he be able to place those where he needs to be?
Well, that's the thing. And I wanted to talk to you about this. You dealt with the finger issue. I know that's slightly different than the thumb, but it's still the throwing hand. How does it affect your deep ball specifically? Because that's one of the things that I think Max and DeShawn have in common. They can both push that ball down the field.
I mean, it's one of those things, man. Like, it's not even just deep balls; it's all throws. Yep. I remember when I did mine at FAU, my finger got caught, and then immediately after, like I was able to throw like a quick slant, I threw like a bubble, and then I had to throw like a field 12 back to 10 retrace, and I skipped it because at that point I had to generate more. So whenever you play quarterback, you generate all your power from the ground, and it runs through your chain, like from your knee to your hip to your shoulder to your elbow. It runs through your fingers, and I couldn't get like the force I generated. I couldn't hold on to the ball.
Yeah.
So it kept like falling out. Now a thumb's even harder because that's your bottom carriage. So you want to create a C, right? When you can't hold the ball correctly, you don't who knows where that ball is going to go, right? That's supposed to be like one of the last two fingers with your thumb and your pointer. I've never dealt with a thumb. I've dealt obviously with my ring, and it's kind of still jammed to this day. All I know, man, that's tough. It's not easy. Yep. But the fact that he's practicing, right, and moving around, like and throwing it around is cool.
Well, that's
good.
The thing. So he warmed up before ECU, and he was
he spinning it?
Yeah, I mean, it was based similar to that glance route we just saw. Is a lot of those and he could drive the ball. I mean, I thought based off watching him, he could play in that game, but I thought they made the right decision.
It's one of those things too. Is like, what happens if he gets hit?
Right.
You know what I mean? I don't know the details. Like, I'm not a doctor. I'm just a guy who likes football. But yeah, it's a great question. Great question. And I know how frustrating it is to deal with injuries, especially when it's like, it's my damn hand and I can't play football, you know? I know what type of competitor he is. I know it's tough. So just kind of recapping, right? We're looking back over some of his last plays from his playing. Just opportunity, these guys are both good at throwing go balls, right? They're both very good at understanding matchups. They're very good at understanding when they have an opportunity for something, when I have a good play or a fast guy versus a DB in press coverage. Like, these guys can do similar things, right? They're a little bit different from a sense of Purdy's a bigger body, more of like a bigger arm kind of guy. I'm not saying that Max doesn't have a strong arm because he does, but I see more Max is like with the strong arm, more savvy, arm angles, working, like being able to manipulate screens, work arm angles on glances, right? Off platform throws, rolling left, be able to throw right. Well, Purdy's like a big, strong, tall dude, like drive it down the middle of the field to your seam. So they have differences, but they also have similarities. They both do a good job, but I think Mike shows that Mike does a good job of coaching up, like understanding matchups, situational football. Hey, this is when we do want to throw the go ball, like 1st and 10, 2nd and short, versus like, hey, it's 3rd and 4. Let's worry about taking what they give us and not working to go ball. So kudos to Mike there too. This is a dime and a half in a big situation.
Yeah.
Another great play. I know we talked about this last time. It's Y cross, right? Pure progression, fade to your out to your crosser. Good showing like the composure of more of a veteran. Working your eyes left, right? not getting screwed up by the pressure in your face. Because like usually, I'm not saying like Purdy does. I'm saying that any young quarterback, like young guys who they tend to bail in this situation, get out. When I first started playing in the beginning, like especially when I used to run the ball a lot, maybe I'm moving, right? Compare 2019 Chris, who used to run the ball a lot. Like
700 yards.
Yeah, dang right, man. I don't know what happened to those legs, man. I got grabbed a couple injuries, and it's like my legs forgot how to run. Pissed me off. I used to get egotistical from a sense like I'm going to run this ball today, and I'm going to prove to myself I can still run the ball. But then like 2019 Western Kentucky, there's a few plays like in this situation I'm running versus 2021 and 2022, even 2020, I'm hanging in there because I trust my ability to read a defense, or I trust my ability to understand football and stay in there and throw on time.
Back foot looks like he's off platform. Is he just buying time for the receiver to get open? Because he's like you said, he's set on holding the ball until that guy's open.
It's one of the things too, the power of a rotational thrower. Back in the day in the 80s, right, we're push off your back foot, rip the left elbow, come over the top. Imagine trying to do that with people in your face. You can't. So whenever you're a rotational thrower, we're working around our spine, right? We're clearing our front foot, bringing our back hip through, closing our shoulder. Now we're creating a torque. Now we're like a rubber band. Now we can work around our head, be rotational, and still pack a punch with our throw. So this is showing like the baseball background of him, right? He opens his front foot to clear his back hip. Watch his head. I bet you $1 million his head stays completely still. Still. Works around his head. You know what I mean? Ball. When you have a rotational background and you can throw like this, you can make all the throws. Watch Aaron Rodgers. Aaron Rodgers, was kind of one of the first guys to really be rotational, and everybody's like, he kind of just throws his sidearm. It's not even sidearm, guys, because if you freeze his throw, he's right here.
Yeah.
Like, to me, that's not sidearm. I mean, people like to call it 3/4, but that's just his natural arm slot. So now we teach quarterbacks like him, like he throws from his natural arm slot. This right here, like when people used to throw like this, and you'll watch freeze frames with Tom Brady from 2008. Then you look at Tom Brady in 2021.
Yeah.
All it is you're getting to your natural arm slot with level shoulders and level eyes and working around your head to pack more of a punch. Think about a baseball player when you're swinging a bat. Imagine trying to swing a baseball bat with your back foot off the ground and leaning. Impossible, right? Every baseball player swing like this. Golfers swing like this, keep their head still. Boxers stay level, right? We're rotational athletes, and that allows you to make these types of throws. I love football. See, this opportunity right here, working arm angles again. Screens, manipulating, eyes down the field. You want to hold on screens on your back foot for a half second, watch them sit for a second to draw them in. Because if you keep bailing, they're going to halt.
Yeah.
They'll be like, oh, screen. Nah, but he halts, bringing them in, work around people.
So is putting the guy in motion just to get the defense to look to the other side while it's still going to be going to the left?
Yeah, you want to rotate the defense, and you want to be able to bump backers.
Yeah.
And any type of eye candy helps with screens, like because like when you get any type of eye candy, granted, like maybe it wasn't exactly a gameplay thing. Hey, we want to move these players or get them into a different look. It might just be like, hey man, we want to like make them think about that for half a second.
Head start turning to the left.
Just make them think something's going on over, just something to allow for an opportunity to open more space in the boundary. And it looks like, it might be one of those things where it's like they're trying to drop like a play where they did earlier when they threw the slot fade with the wheel. You always set plays up as a coordinator, right? You show one thing, and you show it again, and you do something else.
Yep.
You know what I mean? That's good coordinating. Ball. Get loose, Colin. Get loose, Colin.
We got to talk to Bryce Kennan today.
Mm-hmm. What I love. I love the tight end room.
All right, pause this real quick.
Yep.
We got to talk about this. The skill position players on this team. Hassan Wilson, Sean Brown, Bryce Kennan, Colin Weber. I can keep going. What do all these players have in common? Jeremy and I talked about this. You know this.
Yeah, I know the answer.
Yeah, man. Talk about, you played with most of these dudes.
Yeah.
Talk about like that group from the Healy era and how it's, obviously cool to see them still producing, but the growth mainly that you've seen from
it I think it goes to show and it has nothing to do with coaching from a sense of the change of landscape, right? Like you still have to develop as a player, right? And these guys have had stability from a sense that they've been at the same place and they've been able to develop. Now they're all in their fourth years. Let's think about this for a second. Let's go back to 2019, right? First year with Healy, Victor Tucker, Jeff Gemmel, Tyreek Harris, Alex Highsmith, right? There was a Benny LeMay, right? Ben DeLuca, all these guys. Like they were Lambert guys, right? but we were developed. And, it's like when you get to a point where the coaches give you like a layout, hey, this is how we're going to do our offense, this is how our defense. But at the end of the day, who's on the field, right? You have to make it work. But there's a leadership aspect and a developmental aspect of guys who have been at the same place forever. Now you watch, like in 2 more years, obviously everybody will be Biff guys, right, in this class, and they'll be the developmental guys. The guys that hang around the longest, obviously you're going to have transfers that are really good football players that can plug and play. Yep. But your foundation is always going to be the guys that have been there for a while. It's kind of how it is. It's college football. But it's cool to see these guys kind of take that role like we did back in 2019. And like they're leaders, right? They're showing everybody the way. Like, this is how we play football, right? I've been playing football for 4 years now. This is how I do it. This is how we do it. This is how I develop. This is how I prep. This is how I study. But it's cool to see that, man. It puts a smile on my face to see the guys that I was playing with, that were kind of like, some of them were on the scout team. Some of them would get limited reps, coming here being the studs. It's awesome.
Oh, yeah.
Another dime piece. Like, you can see like the ball placement. Like, this is why this stuff's so hard. Yeah. Because both these dudes have so much talent and they're both young. And like I said, it's a good problem to have.
That's when I was trying to find these clips and put this together. It's just like to remind people he was playing well when he went out.
Oh yeah, there's no doubt about it.
And
you could see he was kind of like catching his stride too. He's like, all right, I'm.
Well, the JMU game obviously was a struggle. You throw a pick early in that game that I think was kind of a throwaway. Didn't get to the sideline. The second one's a tip drill pick. Yeah. Then that first half of Chapel Hill, you're 8 for 12, $175, and it's a decent game. And then tough, but
no doubt.
Knowing he's making the return, I'll be interested to see. What do you think of the possibility of them playing both? Do you think they present different enough skill sets for that to make sense?
That's always hard, man.
Yeah.
That's hard because like obviously like there is an aspect of like grabbing rhythm, right? Finding momentum and things. Like obviously you could bring a quarterback in sometimes for like quarterback run. But none of those really, like, obviously Purdy's a bigger body that can run the ball still well, but is that his expertise? No, like he's a quarterback too, That's why I don't know if that's really like a real deal thing.
All right, so I guess the main question I feel like people want to know, the main messages, and I haven't got any emails this week. I was getting ECU hate emails, bro. Who are you starting at quarterback if you're in this situation?
Let me say this before I answer it. This is not an easy question.
At all?
This is hard for loaded. Any decision maker. This is tough. But gun to my head, I think that you have to go Purdy from a sense of like, hey man, the kid's catching his swing a little bit. He's hot. He's had 3 straight halves of good football.
Yep.
Max hasn't been playing for a while. He's just coming off an injury. So there's an aspect of like, hey, why rush it or risk it? And stay with the hot hand from the sense. And it's nothing that Max isn't better than him or he's better than him. It's just kind of like the momentum of the game. You know what I mean? Where we're at. Like if I'm the Pittsburgh Steelers, I'm sticking with Justin Fields for now. Yeah. Right? Like that's what I'm doing. It's no shade to any quarterback. It's just kind of like from the team aspect and where we're at and how things have been going, you kind of have to. And it's one of the things, man, like we've seen it go back and forth from a sense of like, hey, Max gets hurt. Purdy goes in. Purdy doesn't play good. Trex goes in. He does a great job, right? Trex goes the next game. He doesn't start off as hot. Purdy goes in. He does great. I'm not saying like, hey, like we got to like just pull them whenever they're doing bad, but I'm saying though, like keep going with the guy who's hot, right now. And that's what I would do. And it's not that Max is playing bad. It's just that this is where we're at in the season.
Yeah.
I go with Max just because when we talked to Coach in one of the post games, he was like, it was when Trex came in and looked like Tom Brady, as Mike said, and brought him back on that comeback against Gardner-Webb, where Coach was like, hey, we were never taking Purdy out until the injury. That was the only reason why he came out, which makes me think, if you start him and he's not playing well, do you still have that same mentality with Max Brown being the guy off the bench rather than Trex or Ivy? Yep. That's the question that I posed to both of you. Like, if Purdy's not playing well, second quarter, third quarter, you're down 10 points. Does Biff still have that, we're hell or high water, we're going Purdy, or do you kind of pull the leash a little earlier and put Max Brown in?
That's the thing, too, is it's such a different spot, like FCS at home versus 93-3 on the road against a ranked team.
100%.
Like, you're thinking about, all right, we have a chance to be a bowl team now.
Yeah.
You got 6, you got to get 3 of them. That's why I ask about the potential of playing both, because what comes into this for me is the NIL aspect. We talked a little bit off air about it.
It matters. People don't. It does matter.
And that's why, boys, that more college programs are getting GMs.
Yeah,
absolutely.
But that's the thing, man. Is like more than likely, whoever you go with the rest of the season is your guy moving forward. You're not signed. We talked to Aaron Fern. You're not getting 2-year contracts. It's one and done.
One and dones. One and dones with no cap.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And DeShawn Purdie was passed over by Maryland. He is a Baltimore kid. It's a big game for him. How far is Annapolis from Baltimore?
Yeah.
I have no idea. But
close.
Yeah, man. I almost think you play them in spurts, or maybe not spurts, but like both of them in senses.
I think that's the last option. I think you got to choose one and you got to ride with them. And I'm fine with either option. I don't know how this is like. Yeah, so you always hear like people in the media making up these storylines and saying, "Oh, you lost the locker room with Bryce Young, Andy Dalton." That's a completely different scenario because the level of play of those quarterbacks. But let's say Max Brown starts. DeShawn Purdie's on the bench. All the players who just whopped ECU, DeShawn was the leader for that game. What is the locker room like if you get into a QB controversy?
Here's my take on that. Is usually you get that kind of like questioning of a coach whenever somebody's playing bad.
Yeah. When they're both playing okay.
You know what I mean? But when both of them are still good options, it's like I trust my coach because like one of them, like they're both good. You know, and I trust both of them. You know, so it's one of those like a unity thing. Like whoever they call, hey man, I got your back. You know, then if like one's like not providing as much, say, hey man, I got your back too. You know what I mean? I trust both of you guys to go in there and get the job done. And that's a cool and unique situation about this. I don't think there's a wrong answer. You know, because that's a solid quarterback room that's well coached and it's all going to do their job.
Yeah, you got 3 of them that can win you a game.
No doubt, 100%.
Last thing I think about, we've seen DeShawn Purdie against Gardner Webb, or North Carolina first, Gardner Webb, Rice, ECU. How many games is that?
4.
Yeah.
He might not. I mean, if he doesn't play again this year, he can redshirt.
No doubt. That's a good point.
If you think about it like that. So if Max is the guy, maybe you are preserving Purdie for the future. Or that's the last snap you see in Charlotte. You never know. Like, that's the craziest thing about this is no one on the staff or anything knows how that plays out.
How do you go and tell DeShawn, hey, we want you to redshirt. We're gonna roll with Max. That's a tough conversation based off how he's playing, and I wouldn't have that conversation if I was DeShawn. So there's so many obstacles that come up with a first world problem like this. You have 2 really good guys.
No doubt. It's a good problem to have.
It's a good problem to have.
Like it's good to have good depth, but it makes things hard.
But now you got a problem.
Yeah.
And the last thing I'll say, I think Max will take the first snaps on Saturday against Navy. I think he is more than likely going to be the guy. Biff has said a lot of different things, but he's been pretty straight up about who will play quarterback. Yeah. And so I foresee Max being the guy at least. We'll see what happens on Saturday.
Yeah.
But any closing thoughts before we wrap up today, fellas?
You know, just that I'm excited to see how this is going to play out, like the whole season itself, because I feel something. Like, you know, there's something deep in my gut that's like, all right, this thing can be really cool. Like, kind of gives me flashbacks from a certain year. Just kind of seeing the momentum a little bit. You know, there's always that one turning point in the season, and this has I don't want to jinx it, but it's an opportunity to be something cool.
Yeah, little floater touchdown to Vic Tucker against North Texas.
My dog, I love that guy. I miss him.
Anything last remarks? Yeah, I think this was an explicit pod because Hannah wasn't here, and she usually
she let the boys get loose.
Yeah, exactly. So Hannah, hope you feel better. Usually the pod's way better when there's 3 or 4 people here when you're here doing some film session. But other than that, yeah, great to talk football.
Absolutely, guys. Appreciate y'all tuning into the Highway 49 podcast. We'll be back soon.
Yeah, man.